What's going on, everybody? I am your host, Smartmore Jr., and this is another episode of Govern Yourselves Accordingly. I got my co-host with me here. We've got
Thomas Cody.
And
Angel L.
And
Elise.
And we have an amazing discussion that we're having today that we wanted to bring you all into. As you guys know, of course, Happy New Year. I don't know if I texted anybody, didn't I? Forgive me. We were in watch night service going in at the time, New Year's Eve, as some would say. But in the sanctified church, it's watch night. Yes, God. Testimony service on deck.
Yes.
But, with it being a new year, with it being the start of, again, another decade,
Right.
Everybody in this January phase, of course, people are making resolutions, people are getting their gym memberships, people are, I'm a diet, I'm gonna lose this much weight, I'm gonna do whatever. And a lot of people, I'm noticing on social media, there's a constant conversation about cutting people off, right? New year, new me, I'm deleting numbers and all of this.
It's the most frustrating thing to listen to.
If you gotta cut people off every
single year,
people are not the problem.
It's you.
Let's start there. You keep making some bad choices.
Right.
But one of the things that I keep noticing in the conversation is this whole idea of church hurt.
Right.
Church hurt. People in there leaving in 2019 posted talking about all this church hurt. And every year it seems that the conversation, there are entire waves that really focus simply on that whole church hurt narrative.
For sure.
And I kind of wanted to talk about you all, or talk about it with you all, because I have some mixed feelings.
Yes.
I have some very strong emotions around the subject, but I think that maybe some of our listeners and our subscribers are maybe having these conversations in their level or in their local places. And so I wanted to kind of bring it to you guys. So let's start with a basic conversation or a basic general definition in your words. What is church hurt? Let's start there. What is church hurt?
I would say church hurt is any pain that's inflicted by the church, by church people, by pastors, leaders in the church. I think that's the simplest way
sums it up.
to define what church hurt is.
Okay.
I agree.
You agree? With that as the working definition, typically when you hear the term, that's what you think about.
Right.
My question, don't shoot me down.
All right.
Is it real or is it a myth? Because I'm gonna jump out there. I'll be the bad guy today.
Okay.
I feel like there are some examples, I'll be gracious, where you could say this is an example of church hurt, and you could make the argument. But I think 9 out of 9.5 of the instances where church hurt is invoked as the excuse or as the reason, I think it's a myth. That's me.
And I think it's a lot of times people kind of clothe offense in the word church hurt. And one example, you could hold a position in a church for 35 years, and it might be your time to move on, and they replace you with someone maybe younger, and you may not like the fact that your time is up.
If you've been in a position for 35 years and they replace you with somebody older, you did.
I meant, did I say older?
No, you say younger, but I'm just saying, if they went older, you are the problem.
Good at all.
You weren't replaced, you was fired.
You wasn't even moved over.
No, but
and so they feel offended by that,
Yeah.
and then they clothe it as church hurt, and so they want to leave the church. They want to go on live and say it's a sad day for the church, saints. I've been relieved of my position.
Right.
That could be one thing, and another thing could also be gifts. And what I mean by that is to say that you have some prophets in the school of prophets, and you feel like maybe one or two may not, be ready to graduate, and you've graduated the others, and the other two are like, okay, what is it? Why did you not, push me forward?
First of all, if you were prophetic, you would see why you didn't.
Okay, that's so disrespectful. That is so
That's
disrespectful.
why you failed. You don't know why? You don't know why you didn't pass?
That is so
99% inaccuracy.
That's why you didn't get out the class. You didn't see why.
But, those are like some different examples of offense, that I've seen personally.
So you're saying that a lot of times we use church hurt as another word for what's really just you're offended.
You're just offended.
Well, okay.
And that's in some cases.
Right.
I'm not saying in all cases, but I'm saying we have to take a look at ourselves, and it starts with us first.
Right.
What did we do to contribute to this?
Right,
and is it genuinely church hurt, or am I offended?
I agree with
Good
that.
observation.
But
Yeah,
I also think, this is, I guess, a classic story that we've all heard. You hear about the stripper who just got off of work, and she goes to church, and they turn her away. Or sometimes this happens multiple times, or they put seat her in the back, like she's not welcomed. I think that can genuinely be church hurt. And I don't necessarily think that is. I don't want to do that no more. And when I empathize and I put myself in that position, that would turn me away from church, and I would, consider that
like
church
where in the body
hurt.
of Christ can I go to?
Exactly.
Where I will be received.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I think I strongly agree with you guys. Whereas, the new convert may come in and be turned away, but I think majority of the people that are claiming church hurt are the ones that have been in church for a long time. And so from my perspective, I think that church hurt, that we harbor this word or we embrace this word as a pass to do what we want to do, as a pass for unforgiveness.
Yeah, that's where I am, because a lot of times church hurt is code for I didn't get my way.
That's right.
So I'm a PK.
Exactly.
I didn't get my way. Okay.
All of us have ministry experiences.
Yes.
I'm trying not to go to my angry place, but I've seen people that will come to a church, and this church, first of all, God don't visit nowhere else on Sundays but here.
Yeah.
Okay?
They sold
My
out.
pastor walks on water.
Yeah.
This is a man of God. He speaks first face to face with the Father.
Right.
When I'm in line for something.
Yes.
When I'm in the running for a position. But the moment I don't get to be the minister of music, just an example, the moment I don't get to be the head elder, the moment I don't get to be over such and such, now all of a sudden it's just something's not right here. My spirit is off.
That's touchy.
No, you didn't get
That's
your way.
touchy.
Yeah.
So
And
I see some folks over there, no, you didn't get your way.
Right. Yeah.
And so I follow that. But I guess my question is, because I use the stripper example, someone not a member of a church, is church hurt only valid for the unchurched versus it being valid, or it's not acceptable for the church, the pew baby? Do you give room for the stripper who is not a member of a church, never been a member of a church, to be easily more, that was church hurt, rather than me who grew up in church, has done this my entire life?
There are some valid instances.
Because the examples you guys just used were for church people.
That's true. Okay. I think let's say this, and then I want to give it to you.
Okay.
Let's be clear in our position. I think we're all agreeing that there are some examples where someone could leave that encounter and say this hurt came at the hands of the church, so to speak, especially if they're not able to articulate it in any other way.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
What were you about to say?
Just like the stripper, I'll just use the stripper example.
Okay.
If she goes to a church,
It's a lot of stripping on this podcast. My mama come watch this. what?
But for her,
We gonna get sponsored one way or another.
King of
Cover
Diamonds.
yourselves accordingly. Brought to you by our
King of
friends.
Diamonds. Our friends. Magic City.
So-
I was just about to say Magic City.
So my thing is going with the stripper perspective. If she comes to church and she feels unwelcome, and then she leaves, I would say that maybe she should just go to another church, just as in her profession she would go to another club. If she didn't feel welcomed or rewarded at the place where she was, then you just go to another place.
I don't think that's fair.
I would not.
I don't
But
think
my
that's
thing
fair.
is, I wouldn't make that position church hurt for the church universal than just the specific church that she went to.
That's my problem, and that's why I say that 9 out of 9.5 times church hurt is a myth. Because here's my thing: hurt is a part of the human condition. Wherever you go, whoever you deal with, you will. If there are people there will be pain there. So my thing is, nobody talk that felt the unction.
Well, there are people.
you feel
that
the
will be
anointing?
pain there.
Is that E flat?
That's E flat, Doc.
That's my prophetic key.
Don't even.
Nobody talks about work hurt.
Right.
No.
And people get hurt at their job, and they're gonna be right there tomorrow morning, clocking in on time,
Most
knowing
definitely.
Karen don't like
Most
you
definitely.
in accounting.
But
Yeah.
did we come up with that word? We're the ones who came up with church hurt.
Well, here's my problem,
People
though.
from the church.
Because here's my problem.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Oftentimes, in my opinion, church is the only thing that's judged in a way where we count the actions of an individual as the position of the entire
Organization.
institution.
Wow.
So go back to
Wow,
what
wow.
you said about like employment or whatever.
Yeah.
If let's say I go to the doctor, I'm having foot problems. I go to the doctor and Dr. Johnson cuts my baby toe off, right? What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna say, and more importantly, what y'all are not gonna do is you're not gonna say, see, that's why I don't go to doctors. I'm not even gonna say I'm bleeding, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to another doctor, and have him
Right.
put my toe back on because I understand
Right.
the institution of organized medicine
Right. Yes.
didn't
Yes,
hurt
yes,
me.
yes.
That's the place that can
So-
fix this.
Help
Okay.
someone tonight.
But why is
That's
it though?
true.
If
That's
a
what I was about to
pastor,
say. That's what I
Yeah.
was about to say. For back to the stripper. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mama.
Mama.
But it's not that likely though that she's going to take the mindset of employment to okay, well let me just go to another church today, even
Yes.
though they turned me away. That she gonna go home and be like, you know what, forget this.
That's why I
So
don't go to
why
church.
is
That's
how?
That's why I don't go
where
to
did
church
we?
anyway.
Where did this come from?
well, you know what? Okay, let's go from the pole to Paul.
All right. All right.
He said, when I was a child. That's good.
That was good.
That's good
Yeah, as a
exegesis.
child.
Oh.
From the pole to Paul. Huh? When I was a child, I
Yes.
thought as a child, I acted
Right.
as a child. Let's look at it like this. Baby Elijah, who goes to our church, he's a wonderful little boy, 2 years, I think Elijah's
like
2
two,
years
yeah.
old.
Okay.
Baby Elijah, of course, is a 2-year-old baby boy. And because he's 2, he can't talk, communicate the way
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
He does not express himself the way we do.
Yes.
He doesn't take care of himself the way we do. So therefore, when baby Elijah gets hungry, he cries. When he gets thirsty, he cries. It's easier to hurt him
Yes.
because he's a baby.
Right.
If we translate that from the natural to the spiritual for a moment and look at the whole babes in Christ idea,
Yes.
it's easier for a baby to get hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
baby can't
That's
true.
communicate the same way.
Wow.
The baby,
Wow.
you know, if
Yes.
I fall off this chair, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be
That's
a little
true.
embarrassed. I'm gonna get up.
That's
I'm
true.
fine. I'm a grown man.
Yeah, yeah.
You drop a 2-year-old off this chair and they fall,
That-
they're
yeah,
more gonna be more
that's a
likely.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You understand
There's
what
a
I'm saying?
difference.
Because
Right.
it's a baby.
Yeah.
So I think that back to what you were saying earlier with the whole church hurt piece, I think that there is a role that maturity plays in this conversation.
In the validity of it being unchurched versus
Yeah,
church.
because
Okay.
here's the other side. I already hear people saying, "Wait a minute, you can't say church hurt is a myth because it's not like your job, it's not like your school, because these are supposed to be the saints."
People from the body of Christ.
you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
let's not forget, what do we always describe the church as? The church is a
hospital.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If it's a hospital when I'm sick, I need to remember that when you come
somebody
in
else
sick.
That's true. That's
And
true.
if it's a hospital, you gonna get coughed on sometime.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I can't even argue with that.
I can't.
That's valid.
And I think
good.
that we
That's
need
valid.
to just remove the myth that all church people are supposed to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe
that's true.
that the Bible talks about somewhere. I think Ephesians that God put apostles, prophets.
No,
blah,
the
blah,
book.
blah.
No, the book. No, the book, sir.
Put them
See?
in place for the perfecting
Yeah.
of the saints. So I believe that church is not full of perfect people, but church is full of people that is being perfected. And I think that when we get that idea, then we can kind of keep going and roll with the punches that you may encounter in church. Yeah.
That's true.
Total agree.
So I guess I have a question. I don't necessarily know if this is offense or if this could be validated as church hurt. And I know we're kind of making it a myth, but what about the young lady who is exposed to the behind the scene life of the preacher and his proclivities and his
Shout out to you for the Bishop Noel Jones word. Very nice.
I love him. I can't do it.
He will see at YLC. Shout
even watch
out.
his
Shout out for the
podcast.
proper
Yeah.
use of proclivities.
Exactly, the proper
Very
use.
well done. Very
What
well
about
done.
that when she's exposed to something that her makeup wasn't prepared, ready, or capable of handling?
Unpack that.
So, spiritual daughter, her spiritual father. Maybe this is a newer developed relationship, but she's broken, she's coming to be healed, to be brought back to life. And he takes advantage maybe of her vulnerability and makes a move. And sometimes maybe she gets the victory and doesn't fall into the temptation, but maybe she does. I've heard a lot of stories like that where women have considered that church hurt. Like where sometimes I was manipulated into this, I was misused. This is abusive behavior.
Yeah.
He knew where I was. He knew this is da 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 da, and he played on my weakness.
You know what? We about to get into some stuff.
This getting open now.
Because I think
I've
that
heard
this is first of all, it's unfortunate. But it is real.
It's what's happening.
And it does happen.
It's what's happening.
And I think that this goes back. I want to be very clear for everybody that's going to listen to this, because we got to repeat what we said a minute ago. While those situations happen, once is too many, But while those situations have happened, let's not forget that we must not ever project that issue in that church to be church. There are authentic,
That's
clean, holy, upstanding, integral men and women of God that can handle your brokenness, that can love you through whatever, that can take, So I want to make sure everybody that's listening and watching this will know that while those things happen, just like they happen with principals, they happen with doctors, with coaches.
Ooh, that's good.
Amen.
Let's
not make it just the church.
That don't make you necessarily stop playing on the team.
You still in gymnastics. Now that coach was a perv.
That was good.
Did you see what I did there?
That was good.
One for the church. No, seriously though. That does happen.
Yes.
And I want everybody, because seriously, there are people that are going to listen to this podcast that have been abused or hurt,
and that's a touchy subject,
or molested.
Listen,
statistics say 1 in 3 in our churches have been the victim of some kind of sexual assault or inappropriate behavior. So we're not minimizing or dismissing that. I want to be very, very clear. And in a serious note, not to switch, we were podcasting, but to go ministry for a minute. If you're listening, watching, wherever you're hearing this from, there is hope for you. God has a real, authentic shepherd, man, woman of God that can love you through that can put you back together and get you where you need to go. And we apologize.
Right. And if you are currently trapped in that you are going to get out of it. Like you don't have to stay there.
You do not have to stay there. This has been your ministry moment.
Counsel is available. It's somewhere around here.
But with that being said, now this is why I said we're about to go somewhere, because I want to also bring up what we said a minute ago about sometimes, go ahead. Church hurt is code for I didn't get my way.
That's right.
Now, I know of situations.
Not us.
Yes.
Some of them already know how the person is.
Okay, now that's what I was about to say.
And decide to test the water.
Because and again,
what are they?
I know of situations where sis, and it can be sister or brother.
No, for real.
Female pastors and male pastors. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I know situations where you knew Reverend was single.
Come on.
Yeah.
You knew Reverend was going through a difficult time. You knew.
Or you knew Reverend's reputation.
You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is. And
you want to touch
played
the
on
anointing.
that.
Yeah.
You want to
played on
you know what I'm saying? Touch the anointing.
You want to touch the anointing.
There are situations where sometimes, because it's easy to spin one narrative.
Exactly.
Because
there's
it's easy.
so many.
Yes.
But sometimes, and this is not to justify sin, let me be very clear on that.
Right.
But sometimes you've been throwing a rock at this window every day for the last 10 years. And one day that rock cracked.
It's gonna crack.
You know, it shouldn't have cracked. It should have been reinforced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you kept throwing that pebble.
But that's real life.
Yeah.
You kept throwing
real
that
life.
pebble at that window.
Yeah.
It's going to
And
crack.
that window cracked. Now, if the things don't go the way you want them
wanted
to
it
go,
to go.
You want to ruin a witness.
now I'm hurt. Were you hurt when you were sitting on the front row with no panties on?
Yeah.
It's quiet in this Catholic living room.
It ain't quiet over here. It ain't quiet.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Were you hurt when you sent that DM? Because I mean, there are.
Okay.
When you were.
Yes.
But
There
listen,
are-
and then when stuff wants to start getting exposed, then we like to pull back our little stuff and be like, I was a victim here.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, I want to be clear.
And I'm not saying that's always the case.
Because there are
Absolutely not.
legitimate
Literally.
victims.
No, seriously.
There are legitimate
But
victims.
Absolutely.
then there aren't some.
There's legitimate hurt. But I want to say this. Some of that hurt was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Yes.
In some cases,
In some
And this is
cases.
not a man-woman thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It goes both ways,
It
because
goes
there's
both
some brothers that will prey on sisters,
Yeah.
prey on
Absolutely.
women of God, and
Absolutely.
whether ministry is in pulpit ministry or boardroom ministry, you know,
Yes.
whatever.
They want to be the first husband.
You want to be the first, right? Oh,
First what?
please let me get a parking spot.
The first one.
So I think that sometimes we have to have real discernment to determine, because some people don't really want to be healed; they want attention.
True.
Some people like the feeling, or the I don't even want to say it this way, but it's true. Some people like what comes with being portrayed as a victim. It's that, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Are you okay? And some people will stay there longer than they have to because they become it's like, let's
read
go to
the
the
book
Bible for a
about it.
minute. Jesus encounters a man that's been at the pool of Bethesda, and his question is, do you want to be whole? Do you want to be better? You want to be fixed? You want to be healed? You want to be? What did the man say? The man didn't say yes, no. He immediately went into excuse mode to justify why he was there.
Yeah, that's true.
He was so used to justifying his condition that he missed an opportunity.
Wow.
He was on the verge of missing an opportunity to be
To
better.
be delivered.
Because
that's
here's the
crazy.
thing. You said to be delivered. Here's the thing. The downside of deliverance is responsibility. If I can't do better, I'm sitting here, bring me my food every day.
Yeah.
Bring me my, I'd like something to
Me
drink,
getting
please.
delivered means I gotta get a job.
When I get delivered, I
Oh
got to
my
go to work.
God, I gotta go to
Something you
work.
gotta do.
You mean I gotta make my own bed up?
Yeah.
I gotta fix my own food? That's the downside of deliverance. And so sometimes in this whole hurt conversation,
Yes.
People want to stay there. For
sometimes
the attention.
people like their hurt.
Yeah.
And you know this, you've seen people like this. Every church they go to, they got
That's
the same story.
The
crazy.
same story.
Yeah.
Everybody's
That's
just trying to
the
hold me
crazy.
back.
They
The
got a
same
book on
story.
a fence out there.
They got a book on a fence.
Yeah.
Periscope Live.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah. To piggyback back on Elise about being exposed to something rather than, I know that we spoke from the self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But what about the preacher who was all in his humanity? You may have traveled with them. You may have just been exposed to,
And not
the
necessarily
life.
wasn't at me,
Right,
but I just
right.
saw like,
You
whoa,
saw
I
it.
didn't know.
I think
Yeah,
that
that's
goes
true.
back to what you were saying about 2-year-old Elijah, is that, there's a time where we have to develop spiritual maturity. And when you're building your relationship with God, and when you are, really growing in God, that you understand that you have, you ever heard of that good cop, bad cop type of thing? You have good preachers, bad preachers.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we build our relationship up with God, that should not make you leave the church. I think that that's a great moment to expose the preacher privately, meaning that setting up a meeting. I saw what I saw.
Privately.
Privately
Not on
first.
Facebook, not
Go
on
to
Twitter.
your brother, go to your sister,
Yeah.
because it's not
First.
just the preacher.
Right.
But let's be honest, you got musicians that do the same thing.
Yeah.
There are females in the church, that the musicians pray on.
Yeah.
And so I think going to them privately, just like the Bible say, take your witness with you.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that we could do now. If it's not received, then don't create this thing about the church universal. I think that we're going back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we
It's
do.
that
It's that
particular
person.
church.
Yeah.
Just go somewhere else.
And like you said, not even that church sometimes. Sometimes it's deacon
Yeah.
so-and-so.
That person.
Brother
Yeah.
so-and-so,
Right,
sister so
right.
She
Yes.
got a bad
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah.
Him
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And you know what you said though? You were saying we call the church the hospital, but we don't like to accept that when somebody coughs on us.
But
we
is it
have to-
really a hospital if we're expecting everyone to be perfect?
Exactly. So if we are going to continue with the idea that it's a hospital though, don't we have to extend that same grace even to preachers and people in leadership?
Yeah.
Because
I think they like to use this scripture, to whom much is given, much is required.
That's what I was going to say, because
Yeah.
I don't want us to cross the line that I think our generation is so good at crossing.
Okay.
To the not that you were saying this at all,
Yeah.
but I just don't want anybody to hear this and run with this, to say, because what we want to do in our generation is we want to reduce all expectations.
Of yeah.
All
Yeah,
standards.
yeah.
And
Right,
part of
right.
what our generation, well, really before us, honestly, but what we've inherited a little bit is this idea that the preacher's job is to show how human they are. I want to show I want to be real. We limit, or we equate being real
Yeah.
with being human, being normal. I'm just like you.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're gonna go back to the book, we have to keep in mind the Bible talks about, those of you already want to be a preacher, want to be whatever. He said, be careful what you ask for, because they're gonna be judged with a different judgment.
That's right.
Yeah.
In other words, now this is not to say God knows we're all perfect. We all got not at all.
Yeah.
But when I step into that office, when I step into that pulpit, and this is not at all a claim to perfection or any of us, because again, take heed unless you fall. And in my flesh dwelleth no good thing. That's the book.
Yes.
But I'm still supposed to be holding myself to another or to a different standard.
That's right.
Because I've taken on that yoke.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So because of that, I don't want to cross over to the thing of, well, we're all just sinners saved by grace.
Right.
We're just trying to do there's so much good in all the worst of us, and so much bad in the best of us. So it doesn't behoove any of us to judge any. No. Somebody got to live right.
Absolutely. And I wasn't going against that scripture.
For sure. I just don't want, because I know how people hear stuff.
It can be a very fine line. But I think that also we have now the generation of the preachers just like us, or the leaders are just like us. Yes. But I think that comes from a place of the leaders were so perfect for a minute, and then we found out they weren't, and then it was like, oh my God, they're not perfect. What are we gonna do? So then I think this generation was like, you know what? Let's just simplify it. They just like us, and I don't think there's no middle place of grace. I don't necessarily know how to do it the proper way, but
one of the biggest differences between previous generations and this generation, as far as failure and upstanding and not messing up, you know what the main difference is?
What?
Wi-Fi connection.
Pretty much.
Wow.
The internet.
that's interesting.
You couldn't take your home phone and take a picture.
That's true.
Think about what I'm saying.
That's true.
Not, and again, this is not to discredit ministry,
Yeah.
but the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Go back, forget the 80s and the 60s and the 50s.
That's true.
Go to the Bible.
Come on.
The men and the women of God in the Bible,
Yes.
they had some imperfections.
They had some proclivities.
Absolutely.
And then again, I want to be clear. David, and I want to be clear, because David is not our example. Jesus is.
That's right.
But
right.
people
That's
use,
good.
but people use,
But people do use that.
people use those scriptures
To justify.
Yes.
So it's a thin line. I just don't want us to pretend that we invented carnality. No,
that's good, bro.
Because sometimes it can come
That's
across
really
as
good.
back in our day we didn't do
Yes.
that.
We didn't do that.
Yes,
Our
y'all
preachers
did.
was living right.
Y'all
did.
didn't have the internet. There was no Facebook. There was no. The people saw you. The only people that saw you were the people that were in the room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it's a whole different. You understand what I'm saying? So.
This is good.
That's
good.
This is good
That just
because
So
unraveled
how
quickly.
can one overcome?
The whole church hurt thing.
How can one overcome with the church hurt? How can
We gotta zone in though on, because you said something that was so key: offense versus church hurt, and now we're talking about the myth of church hurt.
Yeah.
It's like we have to zone in to really decide what is this.
Am I offended?
Am I offended, or is this one of those things that I need to actually get out of this church
Yes.
and go somewhere else?
Yeah.
How do you decipher that? Like, okay, you tripping on the inside. Get this together. Go talk. I remember I heard you one time say that, I don't know how you worded it, but you said something along the lines of offense gets worse when it's not addressed. However, you
absolutely.
said something like that.
Communication
Absolutely.
cancels. What did you? It was something like communication cancels.
I don't know.
Offense
But I've
or
heard you
something
say
that way.
something like that in something you were talking about.
Yeah.
First of all,
And
I hope I said it better than that. But to your point
but
though,
it's like,
Honest
do I need
It
to
grows
address?
when it's not
cancels the
treated,
offense.
basically.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
I think that's in my opinion. You tell me what you think, what y'all think. But I do think that in this whole conversation of determining and deciphering, am I just in my feelings? Am I offended, or is this legitimate
Is this something I
hurt?
need to take and do something about?
I think the biggest way we get to that is through honest communication. Honest. Let's say it's four of us. We're family. We're podcast crew. Just random example. We got to the spot today. Let's say I told Angel, hey, there's a parking spot by the front door, saved for you when you get here, because the driveway's full, right? Angel has heard from me that I saved her a parking spot at the front. Sharon gets here a little bit before you, and I forgot to call her. She parks
You know what?
in
I'm
your
actually
spot.
really offended because you just called me Sharon and I go by Elise. Wow, I am church. You know, I'm podcast hurt, and I think it's that time for me to. Oh, okay.
Mama named her Sharon. I called her Sharon. Huh?
Sis,
Been
do you
Sharon all
understand my
life.
Do you understand my hurt?
That's how it happens, though.
No, that's
how it
really
happens.
how it happens.
But get my example. Let's go with this,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So we're sitting here shooting this, recording this podcast.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
call her Sharon. She don't say nothing.
Yeah.
She's spending the rest of the episode. Now I went over with him
Now I know that.
specifically. I go by
I go
Elise.
by
now.
Elise.
Yeah.
That's my artist name. He knew that. He just trying to do this. Don't know who he
He's
think
trying
is.
to do his
Little
own
YLCTV thing. Got a little
Trying to show
conversation.
out.
I knew him
Exactly.
back when. That's he ain't all of that.
I know
And
the
then-
real you,
YLR.
chap.
I knew he used to get whipped with that.
Did you say YLR?
Right? She don't say nothing for the rest of the day. She got
Yeah.
attitude because I called her Sharon
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
Elise.
Yeah.
Next time we come together to shoot, she's bringing all of that into this. So now we're talking, I cut her off. She stacks that on top of I called her Sharon.
Yeah.
So now her offense is
Her only
literally being
perception.
stacked.
Now I'm like, oh, you don't
You don't respect me. You don't respect me.
Come on, you better read my mind.
You don't respect. I got you, Sharon. So now here's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
She's looking at everything we're doing
Yeah.
through the lens of her
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah,
what could have happened? This is how we get through that, or around that, or over that even.
Yeah.
When I say we're talking, we're in a heated conversation. Yeah, and Sharon said da 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 da. It would be easy for her to say either then or after we're
Like I
done.
just did
Yeah, yeah.
in a
Like you
genuine
just
moment.
did. Hey, you know I'm going by Elise,
Elise.
right?
Yes, yeah.
And then I would have an opportunity to say,
Oh, my bad.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
literally slipped. You know, we just had watch nights. I am recovering from watch night service. I'm tired. You know,
Not
you've been
even
sharing.
service,
You're
watch
sharing
night.
when the cameras are off. I'm so sorry. Now, because we
Yeah.
communicated,
Yes.
Right.
the offense is gone.
Yeah.
Because she know, oh, he didn't mean it.
Oh,
He-
it was
he
a
wasn't trying to
slip-up.
play me.
Yeah.
It was a slip up.
Yeah.
I think great
You were
way to bring that
honest and
together.
communicated.
Honest communication.
Honest communication. That's good.
Cripples
Cancels.
offense. Cripples, cancels, eradicates, erases,
Yeah.
stops, stifles,
Yeah.
however you
Yeah.
want to
That's
put it.
true.
I think it's that honest communication.
But you know
that's
what?
to stop it.
Even if you were to be like, man, be quiet. Like, you sharing. Even if you did that, didn't give me what I wanted, that communication,
Yes.
You still
the
hurting.
offense would have at least kind of stopped somewhere because it's like, okay, I see where
Yeah.
he is. He don't want to call me by what I go by.
Yeah.
And so I still would have been able to kind of work around that where it doesn't fester into, you know what, this whole podcast, I'm done with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's
try
what
to
it
be
turns
honest.
into. That's what it turns into. I was mad at you, and now I don't like none of y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
offense grows.
Yeah.
You know? And
That's
so,
That's
Like
crazy.
a wildfire.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's crazy.
That's good.
Like a
man.
wildfire.
I think what we need to really keep in the front of our mind is that there are, here's I think our takeaways. Church hurt is a thing that happens because there are sometimes, back to the stripper example, right? Back to the dancers.
We're going
Back
back.
to the city.
Full circle.
All right.
Shout out to our
To our,
sponsors.
to our friends at Magic
You can go to Thomas Cody's church. We'll put his information up. He's starting a ministry. We'll put his contact
Hey,
up on
well,
the
well,
screen.
well.
Amen. No,
Okay,
you
I'm gonna
don't.
shut up. I'm gonna shut.
You know what
Get
you
your whole
put up.
ministry shut down. No, you don't, Reverend. No, but you know, there are some examples where the institution could be blamed, especially
Yeah.
if you don't have a certain sense of maturity yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that with maturity, we should learn and at least ask God. Because here's my closing 2 cents.
Yeah, that's good.
I think we have to always remember that flaws and all, imperfections and all, the church is still the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
And what I'm not going to do is talk about his wife.
Yeah.
He loved her enough to die for her.
Yeah.
And more importantly, how am I going to bash the church when I'm a part of the church?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we should always be looking for a way to make the church win. And with that being said, whenever there is those offenses, those hurts, those things that will happen,
Yeah.
I think we ought to be praying, God, give me the wisdom to discern between that church and your church.
Yes.
Right.
Or even that person and your church. Because sometimes, here's the hurtful thing. And this is why we got to be careful how we treat people. Because sometimes people get mad at the church or in a church and they throw God away.
That's true.
Right.
God,
right.
did,
true.
God did
Because they
do it.
That's
measured
good.
it
That's
based
so
off
good.
of what someone else done.
And
to
this
them.
is what you're right. And this is why the maturity thing comes in. Because I have to realize, you know what? I am hurt. I am wounded. I'm offended, my feelings are hurt, whatever it is. But God's been good to me. Now,
Yeah.
I can't stand. Let me catch her on the wrong day in the parking lot.
You can get these holy hands.
Saved, not soft, right? But God has been good. And at the end of the day, I'm not coming to this building for you anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm coming because of Him.
Right.
So with that being said, I think that this is something we need to probably talk about.
I think,
Probably going on. We might need to do
Yeah,
another.
We need
I
to
think,
bring
I
a
think
guest
there's layers to it. I
We
think
might
there's
need
layers
to-
to it, but I think
Yeah,
that we hit
honestly.
something.
I think we hit
something.
I think we did. If this is something that you want to hear more of,
Yes.
we need you to make sure you comment, subscribe. In fact, you know what? We don't have all the answers. Let's be very
No,
clear.
not at all.
We invited
Not at
you
all.
guys in to listen in our conversation, but you are a part, you're an extension of this community.
Yes.
We want to know what you think. Leave a comment, share the video, share the podcast. Make sure you like and
Like,
subscribe.
subscribe,
We want to hear more from
All
you.
of
We
that.
love y'all. And
Yes.
remember, everything you heard today, please govern yourselves accordingly. We'll see y'all next time.